let's keep rolling into our next speaker. I'm really, really excited for our next speaker. So we're going to dive in. I met this speaker, gosh, it was probably a decade ago. If you remember that story I told you beginning of day one about volunteering at the conference, right? Volunteering was my hustle to just get in the room, right? And I remember volunteering that conference. I meet this guy, and we have a couple interactions, and then I see he goes on this snowboarding trip every year, all right? And I'm like, hey, I would love to go on this snowboarding trip. So eventually he's like, yeah, come on this snowboarding trip. And then we're on the way to this other mastermind, and where he's talking to someone, I think it's Ryan Levesque at the time. And he says to Ryan, he says, hey, I tell people all the time, don't even come on this snowboarding trip unless you're willing to jump 10 feet off a cliff into powder. And I'm sitting in the side seat, already committed to this snowboarding trip, thinking, he didn't tell me that. Well, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go anyway. And we have been going to that trip, gosh, for probably 7-8 years now, and he's just become a dear friend. He's one of the most intense, inspiring people I've ever met. His name's Dan Martell. If you see that red mug that I'm always carrying around, it's from a snowboarding trip we go on every year. If you haven't met Dan, he's the founder of SaaS Academy, the creator of the Martell Method. He's the author of a book called Buyback Your Time. It's going like crazy over the last year and some change. He's an angel investor. He's scaled a bunch of SaaS companies, exited multiple times. If you've ever heard of the company Clarity FM, like back in the day, it's like where you could just get on the phone with mentors and get advice. He created that. He's just an incredibly inspiring guy. I'm really excited. He's going to be talking about buying back your time. Join me, give an Author Advantage Live welcome for Mr. Dan Martell.
Let's go. Chandler Bolt. Guys, I want y'all to know I love Chandler. Chandler, thank you for this opportunity. I'm excited to be here. It's a privilege. It's an honor. And I'm 100% committed to giving you guys 110% of me and everything I've got. I've got some crazy stories, some really powerful frameworks. And my mission today, okay, this is what I want to hopefully deliver to every one of you here, is I want to teach you how to build the business you don't grow to hate. That is what we're going to do today. So I'm just going to pull up my slides, share my screen, and we're going to kick into this because I believe this has the opportunity to be some of the most transformational training that you ever get. And the reason why is because it has to do with your time. And the truth is, you don't have any more time than Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or any really wealthy person. You have the same amount of time as I have. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to increase our output. How much do we get done in the same hour of time? And the equation is very simple. It's time multiplied by leverage equals output. So some people have massive amounts of output. They get a lot done in an hour, and other people, they seem to get nothing done. I want to actually share with you the secrets of buying back your time so that you can invest it in yourself to become bigger and better today. Now, I'm just got a quick question for everybody in the audience. Am I the only person that ended up in a high-speed chase, in jail twice, and in rehab before the age of 17? I'm just curious if anybody else had that experience. I'm sure there's a few of you in the audience. Some of you guys have had some colorful childhoods. Here's why I share that.
And are his slides up?
Oh, my slides are sharing. You guys see them?
Yes.
Yes. Cool. The reason I share that is because when people see the frameworks I'm about to share with you, they learn about the way I coach people. I'm very much a models design type of thinker, systems thinker. Chandler and I talk about this often, about just business growth and strategy. One of the main reasons is because in rehab, after doing 11 months of therapy, essentially, rebuilding myself, from somebody who was an addicted young drug addict to, honestly, the beginning of, just being a productive contribution to society. I mean, I didn't have any big vision when I got out. I was there for 11 months. And what happened at the end of that program is I was helping the maintenance guy, Rick, clean out one of the cabins because it's built on an old church camp. And in one of the rooms, I discovered this old computer, this 486 computer, and sitting right next to it, funny enough, a book on Java programming. And that book opened up and read like English. Like I always thought that computer programming was like, hexadecimal numbers or hieroglyphics. Like it wasn't, legible to a mere mortal. And for whatever reason, the programming language read if this, then that. And it just spoke to me. So I sat there and followed chapter 1 of this book. It was a Ziff Davis computer book. And I just started typing into the computer what it shared. And, after about 20 minutes, I sat back, I hit enter, and the program ran. And on the screen, it printed off, "Hello world." I know. You guys are probably thinking what I was thinking, which is I may be a computer genius. Unfortunately, it turns out I'm not. It didn't matter though, because what happened is my new obsession became writing code, building software products. And eventually I discovered this small thing called the internet. This is 1997. And for me, building software products became essentially my new focus. And what I've learned is entrepreneurship is the ultimate personal development program. So even though my journey from then to where I'm at today, took a decade plus of trial and error and 2 failed companies and, finally having financial success, but absolutely cratering my life at the exact same time. Over the years, I've discovered that for many of us, our mess becomes our message. The wisdom lies in the pressure of our lives, right? There's this great quote that says, "There's no pressure, no diamonds." And I believe I'm a byproduct of that. So today, we do over 100 million in revenue in Martell Ventures, which includes a lot of different companies. I am sought at around the world to come speak at events talking about the concepts of buying back your time, because I want to help everybody listening today build what I call an empire. And an empire for me is a completely different thing than what you might be thinking. An empire is a life of unlimited creation you never have to retire from. I want that for you more than you'll ever understand. I believe that the world's problems are going to be solved by entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs wake up every day to solve those problems for other people. Like our life doesn't get better until an entrepreneur decides to solve a problem. Everything as simple as lawn care and snow removal up in Canada to our biggest marketing challenges, including creating and writing our books. Somebody needs to step up. And I just believe the entrepreneurs, if they could get themselves out of their own way, they would create more. So I want you to write down the answer to this question. If you had more time, what would you do with that? How would you invest that time? Because that's what I want to teach you today, is how to buy back that time. So what I've learned over the years is this thing called the pain line. As we start in life, as we grow as an entrepreneur, at some point over time, and we're growing, we will hit a thing called the pain line. And what happens is that becomes our complexity ceiling. It becomes the place where any more growth feels hard. And usually I get the call from my friends when this happens, because they usually come to one of 3 conclusions. Okay. I call them the 3 S's. Write that down. 3 S's. The first S is stall. This is where the person decides, you know what? Last year I made more money. I had less headaches. Sure, we didn't have as much top line revenue, but we were more profitable. And I think I'm just good stopping here. The challenge with that is, I remember my buddy Matt, he's an electrician, and he asked me that. He says, "Dan, I watch your stuff. I see you talk about growth and expansion and believing in yourself and all that stuff. But what if I just want to stay where I'm at?" So that's an awesome question, Matt. The challenge with that is, one, the world continues to expand. Gross domestic product is a thing. So the market's expanding. Your customers every year, whether you like it or not, are going to expect more from you, better, faster, cheaper, more impact, keeping up with the times. So that's not an option. And I said the biggest challenge of all is if you have a team member and you enjoy working with them and they're incredible, they probably have a vision for their life that's bigger than the one they have right now. And if you decide to stall, they're probably going to go find somebody else that's going to be able to deliver on that vision. So you're in that moment, your best people will leave you. And it's kind of crazy. So stalling is not an option. The other S is sabotage. Sabotage is a funny one. So think about, you have the opportunity to maybe triple the size of your revenue, your business, your opportunities in your life. But in that growth, your calendar is going to get chaotic. It's going to just absolutely explode. Most people, unfortunately, in that moment where they could, say yes to an opportunity, they don't even realize they're doing this, but they drag their feet. They don't show up confidently. They're scared, so they don't push on the gas. They've got the handbrake fully cranked, but they're trying to grow, but it creates a lot of friction. I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you have an email from somebody that wants to ask you to speak at an event, and that one talk could turn into enough business to double, triple the size of your exposure, your revenue. And instead of immediately replying, yeah, I'm in, you wait. You wait till you have time to think about it. You wait till you feel emotionally ready. You wait till you clean up some things in the office so that you have the capacity. And eventually, maybe, a few days later, a week later, you come back from the gym, you're feeling all great. You finally go to your starred folder and you hit reply and you hit send. I'd love to do that. Let's schedule it. And they replied and they go, unfortunately, I've gone, took too long and I went a different way. That's self-sabotage. Most people don't know where they are hitting their pain line and self-sabotaging their opportunity for growth. The third S is sell. And this one I get all the time. I have my buddy call me on Monday and he's like, hey man, I think I'm ready to sell my company. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I thought you were really enjoying it. He goes, yeah, no, I've just had a few things with some people and a customer didn't pay me and this and that. And I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to sell. And I said, well, what's going on? Like, let's talk about the top 3 things that's going on. He kind of shared them in more detail. And I just asked him a simple question. If these problems weren't present, would you sell the business? And he's like, well, of course not. I said, well, here's what I've discovered. Whether you sell it or not, what you've discovered is your complexity ceiling. You discovered where your current capabilities, your abilities, your skills, your beliefs, your character traits, this is the level of business you can support. And anything above that gets hard and it's complex and you haven't learned how to deal with it. So you just want to get out of it. So when you go start that next thing, what's going to happen is you're going to hit that complexity ceiling once again. And whether you solve it now or solve it later, that is yours to resolve. So selling is also not another option. So instead, what I would offer everybody listening is this concept called the Buyback Principle. Okay. And the big idea is $1 million companies are not built off $10 tasks. It's impossible. If you have an aspiration to build $1 million company, you can't build that company working 100-hour weeks doing $10 tasks. It's impossible. When you start off, you wear a lot of hats, but as soon as you've got revenue coming in, you got to start looking at getting up your time. So the Buyback Principle states we don't hire to grow our business, which is what 99% of people do. Instead, we hire to buy back our time. So I call it a calendar over capacity problem. See, some people get overwhelmed. They think, well, I got to hire another logo designer, another salesperson, another marketer, whatever the thing you sell or do, you need somebody to help you with it. What I encourage people to do first and foremost is to look at their calendar and identify where they feel blocked, because that is the only way you'll ever be able to build the business that you grow not to hate. Because any other way, you're just going to end up with, usually it's about 12 employees, about $1.5 million in revenue, where you wake up and you spend all your time just putting out fires, telling people what to do, and it gets overwhelming. So the way we do that is this concept called the buyback loop. So when we feel the pain line, when we feel like we're over capacity, where the loved ones in our lives are starting to complain, our friends tell us they haven't seen us in a while, we haven't been to the gym in a few months. You know what I'm saying? When we feel that pain, the 3 steps that I want you to do is audit, transfer, fill. Okay. Everybody write this down, take notes. This is really going to be some of the most valuable productivity strategies that have ever been presented, but nobody talks about. It took me 10 years of struggling to finally get to a place where I understood this. And when I applied it to my business world, it took off. When I applied it to my professional life or my personal life, it flourished. Okay. So first off, we feel the pain, we go to the audit. Step 1 is what's called a time and energy audit. What I do is I pull up my calendar, and if I don't have one, I log it. And essentially for 2 weeks, what I want you to do is log every 15 minutes exactly what you do with your time. Every 15 minutes, you log it down. Bam, 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 bam. And then after 2 weeks, because you want enough time to kind of, not have like, oh, well, I spent all this time in 1 week doing one thing. No, you want 2 weeks worth of effort. And you got 15 minutes logged of everything you did. If you search the internet, if you went to Facebook, I don't know if you guys have ever had this scenario where you like open up a browser to go do something important. All of a sudden you end up 2 hours later on Facebook and you're like, what just happened? You want to write that down. So then what you do is you go through all the things you've done for the last 2 weeks and you highlight in green or in red. And I still do this process. Even a month ago, I got to a place where I was involved in, we're buying a company every month right now. I had the media company requiring a lot of my time. We've just grown to millions of followers on social media. I've got, obviously some travel commitments, my wife, my 2 boys, and I just got overwhelmed. And I sat down with my assistant and I said, hey, it's time to do a time and energy audit. So I followed the exact same process. And what I do is I highlight in red the things that suck my energy. And they could have been things that gave me energy in the past, but now they just they just don't feel as fun. So things in red that are not as fun. Green are things that light me up. This is bright green. Anytime I have the opportunity to share some lessons learned over the years, obviously see an old friend, help and support his projects and dreams, I'm in. That's bright green. So I highlight everything in my calendar, yellow, red, or green. Yellow is kind of like, I don't know, but I kind of don't really love it. And then what you do is you put a dollar sign next to each one of those items, those tasks, and just say, is it $1 sign? Meaning that, if I had to think about my hourly rate or what I charge people for my time, is it like a quarter of that? Or is it $4 signs? It's kind of like the cost of a restaurant, right? Is it very little? Is it very expensive? It's not simple science, but it's just, you just got to gauge it. And then what you do is once you've got that audit, you grab everything that is red that you don't enjoy doing, that sucks your energy. And then everything that's $1 or $2 signs in cost to have somebody else do for you. And you put that into a bucket. And that is the only next hire you make. So some people, they spend dollars to hire people, contractors, freelancers without a strategy. They're just like, oh, I need more leads. So I hire a Facebook agency, or I need help with this. So I hire this. And it's at the end of the day, you need to fix your calendar. That's what we're trying to optimize for. Because if not, we will grow a business that we grow to 8 instead of building a life of unlimited creation that we never have to retire from. So now that we know what we're going to give to somebody else, then we go to transfer. Transfer is quite unique because the way I do it is unlike anybody else. Okay. So I believe, because I'm a software guy, I believe that we want to create a process where as we're documenting the system, we're actually doing the work. And I call it the Camcorder method. Write that down, Camcorder method. I remember my buddy Mark came to me one day. He's a professional speaker and he was overwhelmed. He was speaking a lot, 200 gigs that year, best year ever, but he was still doing things like sending invoices, emails, scheduling his calendar, and it became too much. And he calls me up and he's like, Dan, I know you have the answer, but my problem is I think you know too much about creating systems because of your software background that I have a hard time when I hire somebody to actually like tell them how to do the work. Does anybody else resonate with that? Where, sometimes you're like, I know I could hire somebody, but I don't even know what they would do. I was like, totally. I get you, Mark, but let me try something different. I said, what's one thing that you do a lot of? And he's like, well, invoices. I hate invoices. I hate, honestly, anything financial. I'd rather never do ever again. I said, perfect. How much time do you spend on financial stuff? I don't know, on a weekly basis, 5 hours, 20, 25 hours on a monthly basis. I said, oh, okay. So there's a meaningful amount of work. I said, well, here's what I want you to do. Next time you sit down to do any aspect of accounts receivable, reconciling your bank accounts, invoices, anything at all, financials, tax stuff, I want to encourage you to record your screen. He's like, well, how do I do that? I was like, you have Zoom? Yep. Cool. Start a meeting. You're the only person. Record to the cloud and share your screen, doing the work, recording you on camera and your screen. And as you're doing the work, I want you to talk out loud. I want you to be descriptive. That's the key. Everybody write that down. Be descriptive. So if you're creating an invoice and you're going to the CRM to get the customer and you're looking at your emails to get the information to create the invoice, like talk about why. Why did you go there? How did you know? Is it in your calendar? How did that email come in? And document everything you can around the financials. Because here's the kicker. If you do this for the next few months, Mark, you're going to have these videos recorded of you doing different parts of the financial system. Then I want you to hire a bookkeeper, right? So just find somebody in your local town that's a bookkeeper. And when you bring them on, their first 10 hours with you is probably just watching those videos. That's it. You might be polite and invite them and create their emails and all that. But then I want you to just give them the videos, have them watch it, and then they create what's called the standard operating procedure. They create what I call the playbook. See, most entrepreneurs read a book like mine and they're like, oh, I need to create, the XYZ way, our business name way. We got to create this manual, this franchise prototype. The problem is that's more of your time. What I'd rather do is just record myself doing the work and then have somebody else watch the video, do the playbook. And then what's cool for me is then I'll have feedback on how well they did. So if I can watch the quality of the checklist they made, I'll know if they actually understood and retained the information that I put in the video. So I knew they watched the videos. And Mark's like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. I said, Mark, here's the cool part. If you do it this way, and for whatever reason, the bookkeeper you find in 6 months, a year, maybe there's a situation where they go on maternity leave and they're not available anymore. When you hire the next person, they got the training videos and your SOP. So it'll be even faster to get them ramped up and for them to follow the process you've outlined. And it's net time, no extra time to create. It's a game changer. So that's transfer. The last part, and arguably the most important, is fill. Because if we don't fill properly in the loop, we don't get the forward movement, right? You get that last little bridge area, it takes it away. So essentially, a lot of people, they buy back their time and then they go on the beach or watch Netflix. Not very productive. I'm not a 4-hour work week guy. I'm here to help you create more. So fill is an interesting one. Fill is first and foremost doing more of the thing that makes you money. If you're a writer and you make money writing, write more. If you logo design more logos. If you're a software person, write more code. But after that, you need to look at you, because the world is only going to be a reflection of the value you create in the world. Write that down. Okay. The market rewards you for the value. If you think of your income is usually on average about 10% of the value you create in the world. So if you want to make $1 million, then you got to go create $10 million worth of value. If you want to make 100 grand, you got to create, $1 million worth of value. So how do we do that? We fill our calendar, because we got this time back, with things that make us more valuable. So the 3 areas I always tell people, and I call it the ladder of success, right? The left side of the ladder is the skills. We got to ask ourselves, if I'm here and I want to go there, I'm starting off here and I've got this vision for my life, what are the skills I have to acquire to become more valuable, right? That's the left side of the ladder. The right side of the ladder is the character traits. What are the character traits? Determined, grit, consistent. There's all these character traits of a high performer, somebody that's operating at this level of your goals. They act a certain way that maybe today you don't act like that. So for example, vices. I mean, this is one of them. If you follow any of my content, I will be very clear on it. Most of you work against your dreams and goals. Most of you self-sabotage. Most of you have time assassins. It would cost you nothing to buy back. You just need to stop. When people watch me and they see what I'm doing, they're always asking me, what do you do, Dan, to be successful? And sometimes I just want to reply. I'm like, it's what I don't do. What I don't do is I don't vape. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't gamble. I don't play games. I don't watch porn. I don't do anything that's going to take me away from being in the best emotional state for my family or for my team. So that's the character traits. And then in the center of this ladder, if you think of like the 2 sides of skills and character traits, the center are your beliefs. The rungs on the ladder is where you put your feet to build your beliefs, your money beliefs. Some of you guys will never get a penny more than you think you deserve. Your people beliefs, you believe that nobody could do anything else because it takes more time to teach people. You have beliefs that are going to keep you small. And I learned a long time ago, one of the most inspiring things, or one of the most important things you can do for your loved ones is to inspire them. And playing small never inspired anybody. So that is the buyback loop. When we feel that pain line, we come into our calendar, audit it to figure out where we have to get stuff out of our calendar, transfer it to the person who's going to take it over, and then fill it with things that are going to make you money. Now, people always ask, well, what's the order of hiring, Dan? If I want to build this business, if I want to scale, what's the sequence of hiring? And that's why I created this framework called the replacement ladder. I learned this in many ways, credit to a guy named Richard Branson. Most of you guys would probably have heard the name. Founder of Virgin Group. Virgin has 400 companies. The Virgin Group has 2 co-CEOs and, multi-billion-dollar organization. And probably 8-9 years ago, I got invited to spend a week with Richard at his home in Verbier, Switzerland. And I'll tell you, as a young entrepreneur growing up on the East Coast of Canada in a small town, there was no reality in my future that I ever believed that somehow I would ever, not only meet him, have the opportunity to spend a week with him in his own home. And through just pure fate and a series of luck and chance, I got the invite. And I remember showing up, other people there, just so you know, I had massive imposter syndrome. I was like, okay, they're going to find out who I am and kick me out of here. We got Tim Ferriss is there. You've got Brian Johnson, who a lot of people know as the blueprint guy. You've got, the co-founder of Square, it was stacked, just these absolutely legends of the entrepreneurial business author space. And true to the essence of who I thought he was, Richard was super kind, inviting. And I remember just like hanging out with him and just watching how light he was with his emotions. And even though he had all these incredible companies and there's probably like millions of people that want his time, he was there with us. And what I learned was this very important thing is that he has an assistant. Her name is Helen. She's still with him today. She's been there for 14 years. And what she does is she protects Richard's time in a very beautiful way. Essentially, all requests for Richard's time, all of his PR stunts and team members and CEOs that need his time, all go through Helen. And then what they do is every morning for breakfast, they sit down for 60 minutes, sometimes 90 minutes. And she only brings to his attention the things that she doesn't know how to handle. And he might give her some feedback. They might review the calendar, but that's to the extent that I saw him work. The rest of the day, he's with us, he's shopping, he's training for this next charity race he's doing. And then Helen's off to the races with her information to move all those dreams, goals, projects forward while we're on the ski hill. And I thought, this guy's got it figured out. I mean, a lot of people say that, Richard Branson is the billionaire that every other billionaire wants to be like. And I saw him do it. It was incredible. So I got back and I integrated these philosophies into my life. And it's allowed me to build a world where I get to experience the best parts with none of the downside for me. It's just my own personal preferences. I want to spend either my time doing things that are uniquely for me or with my loved ones. So here's how the replacement ladder works. Okay. And everybody, again, pull out your journals. I want you guys to walk away with some very tactical, actionable steps. First step of the ladder is you might be feeling stuck. So the key hire to make is the admin, an administrative assistant. It can be part-time, virtual. You can do task-based. But the key is that over time, they eventually take over 100% of your inbox and 100% of your calendar. Because your inbox is nothing more than a public to-do list for other people's requests on your time. Think about that. Your inbox is just this open request to-do list of you from many times strangers off the internet on your time, and you have no person to protect it. And that's where your assistant comes in. It's also their place to work. A lot of people, I remember my brother hired an assistant once, and I was all excited for him because he hadn't had one for years. And I was like, I saw him at the barbecue and I was like, hey man, how's it going with your new assistant? He's like, it's going okay. And I was like, I think I know what happened. He goes, what do you mean? I said, you're delegating things to them. You're not having them manage 100% of the emails come into your world. He goes, well, how else would you do it? I was like, the way I told you to do it, the way I've always done it, which is, this is how Richard does it with Helen. All messages come in first to the inbox and then are triaged by my assistant, then only reviewed with me with the key elements that I don't know how to deal with. That way, somebody else is moving your life forward while you're, for me, on this presentation. Like while I'm here, there could be opportunities and requests and coordination for even things that are happening tonight. And while I'm here, my team is handling it for me so I can be 100% present with you. The second thing is your calendar. I want somebody else to be working with me as a partner to try to figure out how can I get the most out of my day? How can we batch things together? How can I reschedule things? How can I renegotiate different block time so that I can get the most energetically and productively? Is that a word? I don't know. Being more productive in my hour. So that's level one, is admin. The second hire is somebody to help with customer success, delivery. Essentially somebody that can help you with the onboarding and support. I remember when I was starting off, I thought I had to do everything because I had a special skill. I was a programmer. And then I realized there's a lot of stuff I was doing that had nothing to do with programming that I could have somebody else help me with. And I just called them an account manager. So every time I get new projects, I would just have the account manager talk to the customer, pull out all the requirements, negotiate with them, get all the assets, everything I would need to be a great programmer. And they would manage it. So the onboarding and the support is the key area that you need to look at. But you might still be feeling stalled because you're not really building that momentum yet. The third level is marketing. And this is where some people still feel friction when it comes to their growth because they've got a great service. They're like the best kept secret. And what happens is when they market, they get customers, and then they get busy and they don't have time to market. And then they don't have customers, and they got to market more to get customers. And it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. I had a friend named Rachel. She had a design agency, a freelance agency. And that was her reality. And she asked me one day, she's like, what's wrong with me? I've been going sideways now for 3 years. And her revenue literally went up and down almost every 3 to 4 months. And I said, Rachel, it's likely because you don't have a marketing system. A marketing system is a repeatable process for generating awareness and leads for your business. And the key is, it doesn't matter if it's a part-time person, a full-time person, an agency. You want to create one and document it and then have somebody run it. And ideally, when they wake up, the ownership is on traffic and campaigns. Do the web pages that you set up to get the leads, still get traffic. I can't tell you the amount of times I've changed some link and broke something, or changed the background color of a button to the same color as the page and the customer can't check out. I mean, it's, you name it, I've done it. So somebody waking up every day to monitor traffic and campaigns, that's level 3. If you do that, then you start building some level of consistency. The fourth level, freedom, this rung on the ladder, is the most powerful, and it's sales. The reason why is because at this stage, if you can get somebody else that takes all opportunities. I literally got an opportunity for one of my companies, came in through a friend just now, text message, my buddy Raph. He's like, hey man, I need some help. I said, no problem. I'll connect you with Jay. Jay is one of my sales guys. Boom, screenshot the image, sent the text message intro, off to the races. I'm over here. Now I have somebody who's going to take that call in real time. So it's better for my friend. I have somebody that cares about getting that thing brought forward. So they're going to work it. They're going to get them all the resources they need to make decisions, and they're going to do follow-up. The truth is, I don't know about you, but I'm a great salesperson on the call. I do not like following process. I do not like doing the follow-ups. I don't like anything that is in the conversation. The cool part is my buddy Jay, who's on my team, he loves that. He will follow that because he's incentivized to do this. So here's why it's freedom. Right now, with 4 hires, you found yourself in a place where you can go on vacation and somebody else is responsible for generating awareness, getting a lead, selling that person in your business, and starting them within your product or service, meaning that they can begin. They might not be able to finish the whole thing, but 4 hires and you finally got yourself to a place where you've got what the business was always supposed to deliver, which is freedom, right? The highest level, level 5, is executive leadership team, or just leadership. And this is where you get into flow. And this is kind of where I've spent the last decade of my life, where I don't even CEO the companies I own anymore. I'd rather hire somebody to run them. So I have CEOs that run all my companies, and I want to be partnered with them. I want to be in conversation where we're talking strategy, we're talking outcomes, but the key is they're coming to me with a strategy. They're owning the outcomes. So the conversations we have is just fun, flow, problem, solution, ideation, creativity. And my gut tells me that this is your happy place, that you like to create, you like to ideate, you like to help people, but you don't like creating a to-do list. You don't want to add a bunch of stuff to your projects. You don't want to get on a call and hang up and just add another hour of work you have to do on Saturday or Sunday morning. And if you do the replacement ladder in this sequence, it starts at the bottom where you spend the least amount of money to buy back your time and work your way up. Where most people do the opposite, trust me, they're like, I need to hire an integrator. I need to hire an operations person. It's like, you don't even have an assistant. So how about we start there? If you do it this way, you'll get your time back and it'll be financially very productive. If you don't, it'll cost you a lot of headaches and money. And here's what I believe. If you don't have an assistant, you actually do have one. It's you. And two things: you suck and you're overpaid. I know that might not feel fun to hear, but there's a good chance you're not very good at the job and you're overpaid. So that is the replacement ladder. If you haven't, check out my book, Buy Back Your Time. And actually, for Chandler, for everybody that wants to get access to my internal SOP for working with my assistant, my EA, internal Google Doc direct link, just find me on Instagram, 2 L's of Martell, Dan Martell on Instagram. Give me a follow, and then just send me a direct message and ask for the EA playbook, and I'll send that link right over to you, no opt-in, as a gift. It's like 42 pages, sanitized. I've shared it with Chandler and many of my other friends, but just mention Chandler in the message, EA Chandler, so I know it came from here. So I'm not giving it to everybody. But then you'll have my internal playbook to start the process, or if you have an executive assistant, to refine the process to work your way up that ladder. With that, appreciate you guys having me, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of the event.